I was born in a small village surrounded by thick forests, where morning fog would crawl slowly as if trying to swallow the old mud houses. In that time, people did not know much about the world. They feared the night more than hunger itself, because night was seen as the time of spirits and curses. I was the strange child in the village, not because I was simply different, but because something was happening inside me, something I did not understand at first. I could see things others could not see, not in the sense of hallucinations, as you might think, but I noticed very small details. The movement of insects under the soil before rain, the change in the smell of air before storms, and even the nervous behavior of animals before hunting. And one day, I discovered that I could do something else. When I was 10 years old, my mother became very sick with a high fever. There was no doctor in the village, only an old woman who treated people with herbs. I sat beside my mother, terrified. I placed my hand on her forehead, and something strange began to happen. It was not a voice I could hear, but a feeling inside me, as if warmth flowed from my chest and my hand and then into her body. After a few minutes, her temperature began to drop slightly. I did not feel that I had done something great, but I realized that something different was happening to me. That night, my secret journey began. I would go out at night to the edge of the forest. I was not afraid of darkness. Instead, I felt that it understood me. There, I started trying to understand what was happening. I would sit on an old rock and focus on a mysterious inner feeling, then try to move the leaves of trees without touching them. At first, nothing happened, but after months of trying, the wind sometimes began to respond. Not completely, just a small movement of leaves, as if nature itself was hesitant to answer me. I knew what I was doing was dangerous. In the Middle Ages, people were afraid of everything they did not understand. They believed that illness was a punishment from heaven, that storms were the anger of spirits, and that anyone showing strange knowledge might be connected to dark magic. So I was very careful. At the age of 16, my life changed. Men wearing religious clothing arrived in the village. They were searching for those who manipulate dark forces, as they said. During that period, the world lived in collective fear of magic. I never show my abilities to anyone, but one child saw something when I stopped his bleeding after he fell from a tree. He told his mother, and then the story spread. He did not say I was evil, but he said I was different. And in a small village, being different could be dangerous. One night, an old woman came to my house. She was known in the village for her knowledge of herbs. She whispered to me, "I know what you are doing, but you must learn to live with your shadow, not fear it." Then she gave me an old book. It was not a magic book as you might imagine, but a mixture of ancient medicine, observations about the moon's movement, and strange recipes for treating wounds using ash and rare herbs. She told me that real magic in that time was not just rituals, but a mixture of science, observation, and patience. I started learning how to read secretly. I studied the human body, herbs, poisons that some nobles used in political conflicts, and methods of treating war wounds. I knew that knowledge itself was as dangerous as magic. At the age of 18, the war changed everything. The feudal soldiers came to the region to collect taxes by force, and conflicts broke out with the farmers. Many people were seriously injured. At that moment, I could not stay hidden. I entered the abandoned church near the village, a place where no one went after rumors spread about strange sounds inside it. There, I used my power for the first time in front of people. I placed my hand on a man's wound that was bleeding heavily. I focused and felt the same energy I felt when I saved my mother years ago. The blood slowly stopped. It was not complete magical healing, but it was enough to save his life. People were frightened at first. Some fell to their knees in fear, while others looked at me as if I were both a demon and an angel at the same time. But over time, they began coming to me in secret. I treated wounds, reduced fever, and sometimes helped them know the best planting time, depending on the movement of the moon and winds. I asked for no money, only food or help keeping my secret. But fame in a time of fear is not a blessing. News reached the religious authorities. One winter night, I heard violent knocking on my door. I escaped before they entered. I took only the old book and some herbs. I walked for hours inside the forest until I reached a remote area where no humans lived. There, I entered the final stage of my life as a wizard. I lived alone for many years. I learned to communicate with nature in a strange way. I used my power not to control things, but to understand them. I would calm the wind when storms became dangerous for villages and help lost travelers in the forest by creating a faint light along their path at night. But I was careful because I knew that discovery would mean death. Over time, my power started to weaken slightly, or perhaps I learned to control it better. I realized that what people called magic was nothing more than deep understanding of the world and the ability to use inner energy through extreme concentration. In those ages, nobody knew that some of what they called magic would later become part of science. When I became old, I sat one last time on a rock where my journey began. I no longer tried to move the wind. I only watched the sky. I knew the world would one day reach a time when people would understand that knowledge is not an enemy.